Hello and welcome to another episode of the Engineering Career Coach podcast. Today I'm delighted to have C.E.M. LaMontanaro. He's a professional engineer and he's the Director of Engineering at Aufgang Architects LLC. He's joining us to discuss internship programs tailored for young engineers. We'll delve into the exciting opportunities these programs offer and how they equip aspiring engineers to conquer real-world challenges in the industry. Additionally, for those contemplating fieldwork, we'll explore the significant benefits young engineers can derive from hands-on experience and how it fosters their professional growth. I'm your host, Jeff Perry. You can find more information on me at jeff-perry.com. I'm an author and leadership and career expert, and this is the Engineering Career Coach podcast brought to you by EMI. This is the first podcast dedicated to helping engineers and technical professionals with both their personal and professional development. Now it's time to jump into the main segment of our episode. I have the pleasure to have with me today C.E.M. LaMontanaro. He's the Director of Engineering at Aufgang Architects LLC. Sam, so excited to have you here on the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Now, let's get to know you a little bit here, Sam. We want to hear a little bit with our audience about what your role is at Aufgang and what led you to get into engineering in the first place.
Sure. So here at Aufgang, I'm the Director of Engineering. My role on a day-to-day basis, we work with developers, guiding projects to sustainability, whether or not we are the engineers of record on that particular project, whether we're doing the design or not. We try to work early stages with projects and developers to kind of come up with a game plan going forward to have that really super efficient system and kind of tailor it to what their needs are, what their budgetary constraints are. So we're here to, sometimes be a second set of eyes on a design that was already done, to do a little cost analysis, a little budgeting, but we're here to help guide other people's designs and help keep things on budget and efficient.
Okay, that's great. Now, we were talking just a little bit before we started recording about some of the great things you and the team are doing as far as your internship program. And my understanding is Aufgang is really known for its great internship program. Can you give us a little bit about of an overview of what that program looks like? What makes it a success for young engineers who are coming in for the summer and trying to have a good experience?
Well, okay. First, I'm going to give you a very successful story. And then we'll go into kind of, philosophy here. But the owner of Aufgang, Ariel Aufgang, started off here as an intern. So he was an intern. Even while he was back in school, he always maintained contact with the firm, came back in the summers, but during the school year, maintained contact where, he would do some stuff directly from school. Out of school, came to work here, worked his way through the ranks, and now he is the owner of the company. So that's, a pretty good intern story. But, one of our focus of our interns here is, we love to have our interns maintain contact and then hire them after college. We cultivate these long-term relationships. We really try to take the time with each of our interns with field work. They work alongside of, project architects, project engineers, and, interdisciplinary work, and we like to spend a lot of time, try to get a lot of knowledge in them and really try to get their knowledge base up. And then we will maintain those relationships as they go to school. And hopefully we look to, as we grow and expand our firm, we like having those people that were already in our office and we've kind of established some time and effort into them. And I think it pays off. We have quite a few people in this office who started as interns. And I think that's really the best way to cultivate those long-term employees is, you start early. They understand how you like to operate. They understand the culture of your office. They go back to school as, the things that they've learned here, they can kind of go back to school and they constantly have that in their mind and they can kind of augment their education with what they've learned here and vice versa. And hopefully, when it's time to get out into the real world, they come here, they come back.
That's great. And about how many interns do you usually bring in for a summer?
Usually we look anywhere, 4 to 5 interns. if you get too many, unfortunately, it's hard to keep them with a senior level. We like to
Sure.
have them really at the hip of a senior level
Hmm.
um, employee. I think that's where you gain the most benefit. I will tell you, one of my interns, I have him sitting, I've got a pretty big area and I've got him, a matter of 5 feet from me, because I don't want to, I want to have him his point right there with everything that we do, trying to keep him as engaged as possible. And, really, it's easy for me to kind of oversee and, really kind of almost look over his shoulder, and we can kind of go over every aspect of the design as he's doing it. And, I think it's a great way to have them with the senior level people they've got that world experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that mentorship that happens during the experience is so critical. And my internship experiences and anyone who I've heard who's had a really good mentor or internship experience. And so let's talk perhaps those who there might be some listening who, especially, people who are in school or young professionals who they hear about internships, they know that they're important, maybe to get some experience and whatnot, but they don't really know exactly what to expect from the experience. What do you think they can do to understand, like, why are internships so critical for the intern, right? Like,
Sure.
what can it really do to accelerate their progress and their understanding beyond just the work that they're doing in school or whatnot?
Sure. I will tell you, I think it is paramount to do some type of an internship. An internship is where you take your knowledge and the things that you learn in school and you put them to that practical sense. We all go to school, we're all very, very smart. We come out and, we're machines. But we don't have that practical sense. And it's not until you apply those items, in the practical sense of, whatever, if you're a mechanical into a real HVAC system, the formulas, or if it's a stormwater system, how to calculate runoff and gravity flow. But until you get into that real practical sense where you're seeing the practical application, it really makes things concrete and you solidify those things. So in the internship, we're working in real buildings that, you will be able to walk through, you will be able to, physically touch and smell. And it is a very big difference to take what we've learned in school and the practical sense. And then what's great is you will see the tools that we use, whether it's BIM, AutoCAD, Revit programs, you'll be able to see those programs, and now you can kind of tailor what you're doing in school. If you see a class that has those programs that we use out in the real world, you could say, hey, that's, I think, a real practical program. I know that's going to have good practical application when I get out of school. So one feeds the other, where you can see that practical sense and you can kind of tailor your education a little bit more to the practical stuff you see in an internship.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. Where you're being able to connect the things you're learning to, hey, here's how we actually apply this. I think of it also, from my experience, as an opportunity to test drive a few things, a particular industry type of work, certainly a company. And I did a couple internships when I was in my undergrad, neither of which did I end up working for that company or even in that particular industry or type of work, but they still fed experiences that helped me grow later and provide some context that I still think about a lot today, even like years and years later. And so it's this opportunity to test drive. And if you don't like something, that's totally okay. That means no harm done. You still take what you learned from that and you can apply it in a different situation, company, or particular angle of the industry. And that's totally fine.
I think you really hit that one, because you know you get to take that test drive in an industry. I think I like to work on building systems, and you get there and you can really get your feet wet. You can see if that's what you enjoy doing on a day-to-day basis. Let's be honest, you get out of school, you're hoping you're going to be in an industry for the next 30 or so years, 30 plus years, and see if that is what you want to do.
Yeah, that's great. So one of the things I thought was really exciting that you were talking about, like, hey, the things that you and Aufgang are working on are physical things. They're buildings that exist and things that go into the built environment. And so there's some opportunities there for field work. right? To go not just into the design, we're looking at, using the software and how do we design or do the calculations, whatever, but actually going and engaging, doing hands-on work, seeing how these things are applied, right? So how do you think that enhances the experience for interns to really see, hey, I'm doing this work, but this is how it actually gets into play in the real world?
So I think one of the things that is real important is integrating it with the internship is field work to get that practical sense of what we do. Um, so one of the interesting things, I had one of my interns, we have an existing building, and it's a 13-story building, and we're designing a new standpipe and sprinkler system. So you take it from paper, and then we get to go out to the field. We got to walk the building, and you physically get to see, those lines and circles you were putting on the paper, and now you're seeing 6-inch pipe, you're seeing large fittings, large valves, and you get a sense of, you know, these systems and the components that go into these systems, and they're not just symbols on paper. So field work and going out and seeing that it's not lines and circles. These lines and circles represent things that are much larger. They have weight, they have mass. People have to physically carry them in, strap them up. you know that's a really big thing, and that's where that practicality comes in. So you're not just a very smart person who came out of college. You need to be that as well, but you need to have a little of that practical side, spend time at the field so you can see those things that you design. And it really translates, I think, into the design, because after you've seen it, when you come back to the computer, you might draw it a little bit differently now that you've seen it. And I think that's super important. And in the internship, when you see those things early on and you have that practical sense, now when you're maybe in a fluids class and now you've seen those pumps that we're talking about, a double suction pump, or whatever the piece of equipment is, you might view it a little bit differently, and just, again, a more practical, more worldly 10,000-foot view on that.
Yeah, and probably all sorts of instances where you got the design and the drawing there, and then you get to the site and like things aren't exactly like things were drawn. And so like dealing with, okay, we have this conceptual idea, but then how do we actually get that implemented, which is always fun to, and it's part of the engineer's world, right? Like
It
it's
is.
the realities that you're dealing with. There's something
You
there
can
that you
make
didn't expect and
right.
you need to deal with it.
You can make anything fit on paper, typically. And
Yes.
now, as the software has evolved, where we're using, Revit, mechanical desktop, where you're actually doing coordination, and it's not just 2D, you're actually drawing things in 3D. So you're coordinating with, a building structure, and, so things change quite a bit when you look at it, on that, and different platforms, different program platforms. So, seeing that those platforms exist, those different programs, Civil 3D, where you're calculating, all your slopes and your runoff rates, and you're physically seeing it on these programs through hydrographs, and, it makes a very big difference, when you have a practical sense of these things. And, how really big is a 12-inch piece of pipe, a 16-inch piece of pipe? It changes quite a bit when you physically see them, how you'd maybe design something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Sam, I want to get this to staying on this kind of practical side of things. Maybe you can give us some examples of some of the projects that you have worked on, especially with interns, and some of the ways that they've been able to contribute to those projects and help them contribute to their professional growth as they've done that. So maybe if there's projects that people would know about, or just things that you think are really good representations of the opportunities to take the conceptual ideas and put it into practice in a real project.
Yeah, so the first building that I was, again, touching on was a 13-story renovation, where my intern he's designed plumbing systems, he's done sanitary waste and vent, he's designed the domestic water booster pump system, he sized the fire pump for the standpipes and sprinkler systems. And these are all real world systems that he's done. Another project that we're working on that the interns are spending quite a bit of time on, here in New York City, we're doing New York City Housing Authority. and they're doing major renovations throughout the city. So we are going in, we're taking the interns down, and we're looking at the existing systems. So we're doing conditions reports. We're looking to see what systems, what existing systems are there. And, and then we're kind of coming up with a plan on how we're going to upgrade these systems. So we're really kind of getting into the nuts and bolts of these buildings, and we're doing everything from, the architecture. We're doing all the piping in the walls. We are doing some outside civil work. So we're getting, we're taking those systems straight through the building, and we're doing conditions reports. We're getting condition reports for the sewers leaving. So we're going from, all through the building, right through the municipal services. We're upgrading electrical. In some instances, we're upgrading water. We're upgrading sanitary and storm connections. So it's really, they're getting the benefit of seeing every single system, how they're interconnected, how the architecture and the engineering play, how the civil side, stormwater plays. It's really kind of every system in a building, they're getting the opportunity to look at with these large renovation jobs that we're doing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so curious, like people who are going into internships, they might feel excited about, hey, I'm working on real world stuff, but I might be concerned like, oh, I'm just an intern and I'm going to be designing this stuff. How do you do those checks and balances? You're talking about having senior engineers being mentors, and I'm sure there are professional engineers on the job. How do you help give the autonomy for the engineers, but also make sure from a quality standpoint that the work they're doing is checked off in all the right ways for the final delivery?
Maintaining quality control, we have levels of checking that we do at Aufgang, where it gets done at and I'm going to call it a lower level, not at a senior level, and it goes up the chain. And then we have, before drawings go out the door, it goes through a very thorough senior level check where, every page is scrutinized, every detail, every note is scrutinized. But a lot of that is typically washed, as because they are working alongside a senior level engineer or architect. So the train is we try to keep it on the rails.
Yeah.
So you have that interaction. It's constant. It's we don't send them on their way and check in on them weekly. And you have to do that. And I will tell you, when we're sitting down with an intern, I'm not treating them like an intern. Nobody is. They are, future engineers, and that's how they're getting treated. They're getting treated professionally, and I want them to understand what a professional environment is. We're holding them to deadlines because that's real world. And in college, you certainly have quite a few deadlines when you're taking tests, but now, we're maintaining that level. Here, this is a real world experience. But like anything else, any engineer, and when they design a system, it is going to go through a series of checks with upper level engineers to make sure that that system design was done correctly. But prior to them, sitting down at the computer, we're going to discuss the system. We're going to lay a roadmap out of what we need to see. Typically you will take a project that was done correctly. You want to show them what it should look like. You want to explain every aspect of that so they have an understanding before they get going. And then again, you have to stay with them, make sure they're actually understanding it. Don't let them fall into the weeds. And like anything else, it's got to be checked before it goes out the door.
Yeah, perfect. We're not just checking intern work, we're checking everybody's work. That's just part of the process.
Right. And they are professional. When they come
Yeah.
here, they are professionals.
Exactly.
I don't view them as an intern. We understand they're interns, but they are, they're engineers at this point, and we are using them that way.
Yeah, that's perfect. So I want to zoom out just a little bit more here, Sam, and think about the projects you're doing and the impact they're having on the community. And obviously the world is trying to move towards more sustainable, eco-friendly practices in the built environment, and the projects you're doing. So from your perspective, how are you as a firm, and how can engineers generally try and incorporate the environmental consideration in the projects that they're working on?
Sure. So, the big push now is for the decarbonization. That is,
Okay.
one of the big buzzwords. Uh, you know, in major cities and here in the New York City market, electrification is what we are striving for. Um, you know, so we are using, the newer technologies that we have, sustainable and sources of energy such as photovoltaic, but integrating everything from a good building envelope, windows and walls, opaque surfaces and glass. We're trying to cut down on infiltration, and then we're trying to put inside that envelope a really, really good efficient system with high efficiency, heat pump, cold climate heat pumps here in New York City. So we have here at Aufgang weekly, every Friday, we have vendors come in, and we will sit down with new technologies. It runs the gambit on
Hmm.
every week. It could be something different. It could be a mechanical system. It could be a wall system. It could be a window. It could be there's no plumbing fixtures, but it's every week we have a class, and it's great for the licensed professionals. There is educational credits, but it is a knowledge venture for an hour every Friday. The interns, they join those classes as well, and then subsequent to that, we have constant vendors coming in. Next week I've got 2 scheduled vendors to come in. The interns will sit and they will listen to these technologies as we're learning some of these new things to try to integrate into buildings. And so it is a constant education, both for senior level, mid-level, and for the interns. We're all trying to gain this knowledge as we go forward, and try to limit the amount of energy or reduce the amount of energy that we use. So it's constant education, but we're all doing it.
Yeah. So ever a thing to grow and learn more about what are the new systems, new technologies you can use, and then trying to hone the skills. And obviously every time you got to look at how do you fit that into the project and what the needs are in the end for the clients and the building and the
Yeah.
community around. So
And that has
absolutely.
to do right. And there's always, budget is always a concern. And you can't just throw everything, all those great things that we find. So it is that marriage between budget and energy conscientiousness. And so you kind of try to fit all that together and match, get your clients' needs. That's number one, that's who pays us. So we try to integrate all of those things together, and sometimes we get to use some of those great things that sometimes you stumble on YouTube or on the computer. You find certain technologies, you do a little bit of your own investigative work, and sometimes you get to use those items that you find. So, but education, you never know where you're going to find one of those cool new technologies.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, Sam, this has been such a fun conversation here. At this point, we're actually going to transition into the Take Action Today segment of the show, where when we come back, we'll get one final piece of actionable advice from Sam. We'll be right back. Now it's time for our Take Action Today segment of the show. Sam, we've talked a whole lot about engineering and environmental considerations and building projects and everything. But we've got a lot of young engineers who are just starting their careers or looking for internships. What advice would you say for them to do as they're starting their careers and trying to grow in an effective way?
I think it's important to put yourself out there and really try to make as many professional contacts as you can. But you can't limit yourself. You have to be a little bit aggressive and try to find that fit for you. Maybe the first internship doesn't work. You find another company, another industry. But you have to get out there. You have to go to your job fairs. You have to put those resumes out, and you have to talk to people and really see where you want to fit in.
Okay, perfect. Great advice. Well, thanks so much for this conversation. If people are interested in connecting with you or Aufgang or learning more about some of the cool projects you're working on, where would you point them to find out more information?
Well, it's real simple. You can go to offgang.com. You can see our company profiles, all our contact information. That's a resource. You can come in. You can look for, if you're possible internship, you can apply for that. I would tell you, like anything, apply early, whether it's
Mhm.
here or anywhere else. You want to get on that list because every year, there's always quite a few applicants. So you want to do these things real early. That's probably the number one piece of advice actually take from this. Do things early because there is a limited number of companies that have availabilities. So you want to get your name on those lists.
Okay, perfect. Thanks again for a great conversation. We wish you and the team at Aufgang nothing but continued success, and hope to stay connected here and provide more value for the industry. Thanks so much.
I appreciate it, Jeff. I had a good time. It was a good conversation, and thank you for the opportunity.
I hope you enjoyed the episode today. We would love to hear your feedback, comments, and questions. You can go to engineeringmanagementinstitute.org, where you'll find a summary of the key points discussed in the episode, as well as links to any of the resources or websites that we mentioned during the episode. And don't forget to check out any upcoming live webinars for this month at the website as well. Additionally, for any engineers who feel like they need extra help taking the next career step or finding clarity in their careers, I've created some free training resources with an opportunity to join a more intensive program called the Engineering Career Accelerator. You can find more information at engineeringcareeraccelerator.com, or you can go grab my Career Clarity Checklist found at www.engineeringcareeraccelerator.com/career-clarity. Until next time, I wish you the best in all of your engineering endeavors.